Hey everybody, how are you doing? Today is another H2H chat. We are so excited to be here, be back with you again. An H2H chat means it's Monday. That means it is noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am joined once again by my lovely co-host, Suzie McCarthy. Suzie, how are you doing in your snow
I
coast?
I am well. We got about 24 inches out here. The forecast said it was going to be like 6 as
Wow.
recently as like less than 6 hours before the snow started. It's insane. So
That is,
yeah, yeah, I
I
took an
saw all the pictures. You guys had a lot of fun this weekend.
hour and a half to dig out the car. I got my muscles going on this morning. So,
Great. Well,
fun times.
I'm glad you are safe and sound inside of your warm, nice home, and that will be a great kickoff to another warm H to H chat. See what I
That's
did
a
there?
really nice transition. Two
Thank
thumbs
you.
up for that one.
Doing what I can. So we are joined by a great friend of ours, Marsha Collier. So excited to have you here. How are you doing, Marsha?
I'm doing just great. It's really great to be here with the H2H chat community because you guys talk about great things. We want to get the facts out to people, so I love doing this chat. Thank you for inviting me, Bryan.
Good. Thanks for being here. So let me give you a quick intro, and then we'll dive right into the questions. As everyone knows, we do 30 minutes of straight questions, and then the next 30 minutes, the last 30, are between I pass the baton over to Suzie. She has questions of her own, plus she integrates your questions on hashtag H2HChat using Twitter. All you have to do is just hashtag H2HChat, ask your question, and we will make sure that it gets into the fold, as long as it's obviously on topic. So make sure that you definitely get that question into Snapchat. See,
Snapchat, yes.
I've been Snapchatting all weekend. See what's on my mind. So make sure you get that onto H2H chat, and we'll make sure that that gets into the fold. I wanted to first introduce Marsha. Her name crops up a lot in the same breath as e-commerce and customer service. No surprises there because she's the author of For Dummies series on eBay for Dummies, starting an eBay business for dummies, eBay business on one desk reference for dummies, plus many other related best-selling titles. Marsha, before I read on, just to clarify, if I remember right, you've written 47 books?
I honestly don't know. Truth to be told, that doesn't count translations. So
Sure.
there's Chinese, Italian, Spanish,
Right.
Australian. Have to translate for Australia.
So many books, plus other related best-selling titles. She's one of the foremost on e-commerce experts and educators in the world, with over 1 million copies sold of her books in print, special editions, like she just said, UK, Germany, France, Canada, Australia, Chinese, and in addition, Spanish. So lots and lots of good stuff. I definitely would encourage you to check out her website. We'll throw that up at the end and make sure that you have a chance to go visit her site. Marsha, let's kick this off. And since this is all about writing a book, becoming an author, the process that you go through, I wanted to ask you first and foremost, I want you to reach back to the very first book. The very, very first book, before you started writing any books, and I wanted you to talk us through, if you wouldn't mind, what did it take for you to just get through the first book?
Well, I always wanted to be a writer. I was on the college newspaper. I was always on this was it. I wanted to be a writer. When I got out of the University of Miami, I went to the Miami Herald and I wanted a job. As, I'm Brenda Starr, man. I'm going to write. This is going to be fabulous. And this was back in the old days, and I applied for a job, and I was told, we already have one woman in that department. Would you like me to hold your resume because we're going to have somebody retire next year? Really, this happened. It's a long story which I won't give you. But I took a job in the marketing department because I scored high on the tests. I always studied psychology and I liked studying people and what made them tick. So I ran an agency where I dealt with, if you remember, retail shopping centers. The big shopping centers had anchors of department stores and things like that. And I put together their ads and their marketing. I learned more and more about retailers, and I saw how small guys could compete with the big guys by doing certain things. So it gave me a lot of insights into the industry, and while I ran my agency, I had a daughter who wanted to go shopping for Barbie clothes. I did not have time as a single mother to go Barbie doll shopping, so I took her on the web, and we found a website called Auction Web. And we would sit there in the afternoon, play Going, Going, Gone. So on the auctions, we'd buy Barbie clothes. Then we figured, right? And then action figures, because I loved Star Trek. So we did this, and the website turned into eBay. So I was one of their first heavy users. So when the Today Show decided to do their first piece on eBay, eBay PR, which was one person at the time, called me and said, you know, you're a user. Would you like to be on? So I went on. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call saying, would you like to write a book about eBay? Now, this is somebody who didn't even know that I had anything to do with writing or I was good at writing. Would I be interested? And I said, sure. And the first book was crazy. And luckily, I had a really good editor who handheld me through the process. And that's really important, whether you're writing a book by yourself or you're writing for a major publisher. You need to have an editor to work with you, because no matter what you think, how smart you are, how great you think your words are, you need another voice. You need another set of eyes who really knows what they're doing. And it's even better if they know how to make a bestseller.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you about your writing process, because I think at the end of the day, you know, everyone wants to. Not everybody, but a lot of people want to write a book. I know Susie actually put it out there that she's working on something. I know Courtney is. I know we have a lot of community members here watching this right now that are trying to do that. I'm curious, what is your process for writing, like beginning to end? Do you outline it first? Do you
okay, well, that's easy. Yeah.
Chapter,
you have to decide, first of all, why you're writing the book, and that's another question, because that's important.
Good.
Outline. I start an outline on a computer, on a document, on something. Then once I've got the outline together, I literally print it out, staple the pieces together, and I carry it with, this is terrible, I carry it with me. And as I think of new things, I carry a red pencil, and I write things on the paper and draw little arrows, and it's generally a mess. Then I get back to my computer, input all my changes. This is usually sometimes after a month, because the planning process of a book, if you plan it ahead of time, it's going to cause you a whole lot less surprises when you sit down to write it. Know when you're going to mention, like, I need to mention this. Where are you going to mention it? If you've written those chapters already, it's a whole lot harder to go back to those chapters. And where am I going to put this? Plan it ahead of time. You're going to have a more cohesive book. And then write your first chapter, not the introduction necessarily, but your first chapter, so you can get a flow of what you're doing. Yeah. My process has changed over the years. I mean, I've been writing for almost 20 years now, writing books. It used to be a lot more painful. Now it's a lot more discipline.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing now differently than what you did then?
Now there's more determination in the creative process. And, you know, that's the thing. If you want to write a book-size book, not a pamphlet, because there's crap loads of, can I say crap loads? There's crap loads of pamphlets out there. There's, you know, all this stuff. But if you want to write a book and you want to carry people from chapter to chapter, you have to plan it ahead. You have to know what you're going to be doing. So I will just set up a day by day. This day I'm going to do this chapter. I don't feel like doing this chapter today. Let me do this chapter. And I'll plan it the night before, and my laptop in the other room, I've got it all set up today. I'm going to work on a chapter. But then again, right now I have deadlines. I have a publisher that's going, rah, rah, rah. We need your chapters. Rah.
So that's I want to get into publishers in just a little bit. So let's put that keep that in the back burner, because we're going to get to publishers. But one of the questions that I had for you is the reason for just taking a quick step back as you're writing a book, or like you said, when you first think about writing a book, do you think about what the purpose is, meaning for sales versus for brand awareness versus more speaking? Do you establish it yourself down to one thing, or do you just want it all?
Well, no, I don't think you can want it all, honestly. I don't think you can want it all and be successful. Before you put your book together, you have to know the reason that you're going to do it. Do you want speaking engagements? Then it better be a really good book, because the latest stats show how many authors there are these days and how many books there are these days. People are cranking out way more books than there are readers. So you need to know why you're going to do it. Also, consider your marketing. Every author needs to be a marketer. You have to look, who is going to buy this book? How many of those people are going to buy this book? If you're just pushing it on social media and, oh, all my social media friends will buy it, trust me, that's not enough to make a successful book. The average book sells 3,000 copies. 3,000 copies is not going to make you any money. It's not going to be worth your time. So you have to not only figure your marketing niche, but you have to figure who you're writing it for. And try to write for the widest audience possible, which is why, people laugh at me. I've written hardcovers, but I write for dummies books. Why? Because there's a whole bunch more dummies out there than anything else. And my market is not necessarily on social media. They're out there in real stores, and they do buy from Amazon, which is why since I started writing, I used to have a newsletter I'd send out every month. I never sold anything on that newsletter. It was my way, my personal social media contact with my readers. So when social media came along, I said, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. But, now I have a blog, and now there's Facebook, and now there's everything else. But to me, repeat buys, that people want to hear more from you, is how you make a living. And I have made a living at writing books. And my books do get dated. I update them into new editions. And, it's not easy to sell a book. One thing I do want to recommend, if you're going to be a self-published author, my friend Guy Kawasaki, wrote a book called APE, Author, Publisher, Entrepreneur. I highly recommend, if you're going to self-publish, read Guy's book, because that's definitely going to help you.
I agree. I've read it, and it is a great book. I completely agree. Let's talk about hitting a wall. As you're writing the book. I mean, it happened to me like daily.
Thrashing around a lot, looking at your desk, oh, there's a little dirt spot here, oh, let me get the 409, I have to clean this, and then, oh, look, there's dust in my keyboard, let me get the Q-tips out. This is the kind of thing you're talking about?
Man, I'm hungry.
As a writer, you keep a little keyboard brush here to clean your keyboard, because I just, I can't write with this keyboard that way. I think I'll clean that. It happens. And you can't stop. You just can't stop. You have to stay in front of that computer and torture yourself. Because if you walk away, you're blowing off your book. And your book has to be your goal. And you have to think of that audience that you owe that book to. And it's a devotion.
What do you think about this? Write drunk, edit sober. How does that sit with you?
I don't write drunk, edit sober. I don't tend to write drunk. I did try. When I read it the next day, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, this is the way an editor, a professional editor, comes into the picture. There's somebody who can keep you on track. And I don't recommend you writing the entire book and tossing them over to an editor saying, hey, I wrote my book, ain't it grand?
Right.
Send them a chapter at a time. Let them look at what you're doing, how you're progressing, and if the cohesiveness from chapter to chapter happens. Some lovely people on social media send me their books, and I'll get a copy of a book, and one chapter has 3 pages, the other one has 20, the other one has 40. There's no cohesiveness to the book. You don't want to read through it, and their index blows. Another important thing is your index at the end of a nonfiction book. That is really important, because if people say, I read something in that book, or I have a question about something, then they can go into the index and find that.
So, what do you think about there's so much content right now. The content is massive. The amount of content that's out there is almost to the point where you don't know what to look at.
Oh, it's way past the point.
Yeah, and you know, and the same thing goes for our time. We don't have a lot of time to read books. Half the books that people send me, I hate to admit this out loud, but I don't have time to read through, you know, as many books as I wish I could.
Bryan, that goes back to what I was saying about too many authors and not selecting your market. If there are 50 people writing a book on the same topic, you know, you're not going to read. I'm with you. I don't read them either, but I again, I look at the index, not only the table of contents, before I read something. Mm-hmm. So is there going to be something in there for me?
Yeah.
But they're all different. You know, it's funny. People are reading more books now. The book market totally crashed around 2009. And everybody said, ebooks, ebooks, it's all going to be ebooks. Now, people download ebooks because they're your friend. Whether they read them or not is another story. And Amazon is going to be paying royalties now on the amount of pages that people read.
Isn't that great?
So it's great for me, I got to tell you. But the point is, if people aren't going to read your book, you're not going to make the money on ebooks from vanity sales.
Right. People
are really going to have to want to read it.
Right. Yeah, it's going to change the game for sure. Okay, so back in the process of writing the book, you've now gotten through writing 3 to 6, maybe half of your chapters. Have you had a change of heart? Have you thought, man, I am not sure this is the book for everyone. I don't know what I'm gonna do if this doesn't sell. Where do you start? Do you get into a doubtful period? I know I did. And what do you do with that?
Actually, once I'm in, I'm totally all in. Because I do that marketing stuff ahead of time, I know who my audience is. When I write, I am writing for those people. I select my words for my audience. And my books, I know this sounds like I'm a crazy person. It's a passion for me. When I write a book, I'm sitting across your kitchen table and I am helping you step by step go through the different things that you need to go through. And I'm fact-checking all the time. Just because I have some sort of theory doesn't mean it's real. I'm no Malcolm Gladwell here. Or maybe I am, but whatever, maybe I am. But my point is, I always double-check my facts. If I'm going to tell you something in a book, you can bet it's going to be true and it's going to be proved out, and you're going to know that if there are any tools that I tell you about in a book, it's something I've tried myself. I didn't go through some walkthrough with a PR person telling me, oh, look at this is what our site does. Mm-hmm. No, I tell PR people, no, I'm going into your site. If it doesn't work for me, not putting it in the book, not talking about it. And there have been a few brands who, I don't say bad things, I just don't include them.
Right. What are some of the tools that you use to write your books?
I use Word. I use Word and a pre-written template. Now, one of the things when you send your chapters to the editor, be sure that you get them back with lots of inline comments, inline changes. And be sure then you rewrite it, because then that's almost a rewrite of your book after you've gotten the chapters back from your editor, because this other eye has looked at it. And I remember writing in one of my books year over year. And the person who was editing the book was not a business person. So they didn't know about year over year. And what are you talking about, year over year? And I got frustrated. But the point was, I'm writing for the general public. I'm not writing for experts. So I had to define what is year over year and why does year over year make a difference in a business.
Yeah.
So words and phrases, and I never use acronyms, words and phrases that we take for granted. I mean, I may define an acronym, but your job, if you're writing a nonfiction book, is to teach the person who's reading your book.
What is an unexpected benefit that you received from maybe some of your books early on? At this point, you're probably pretty versed in what's going to happen, at least more so now than you were before. What are some unexpected benefits that you saw coming out of?
Well, for 10 years, I was on the road almost every weekend, if not every other weekend. I have spoken in every state of the union except Wyoming. So Wyoming, if you need me. Yeah. For 10 years, I was on the road. I went everywhere. I taught my books. I think the smallest audience I ever had was 300 people. It was several thousand in universities. And, this is between customer service and everything else. The eBay thing was almost a gimme. I was lucky. I was the first person to write about eBay and to know it well and to do it well. I'm lucky that when I check the Amazon rankings, my books are always in the top 20 in their category, which is where they need to be for me to make a living, because that's my goal. It's no longer the speaking gigs. I love speaking, and I love talking to people and helping them out. But right now, hey, it's a living, folks. You got a house. You got kids. You want to pay the bills. And if you're spending hours and hours writing books and you're not making money, I would consider an alternative. Start writing paid content. Start honing your chops on smaller things. Because not everybody is a writer. Everybody wants to write a book. Everybody dreams of writing a book. But not everybody's a writer.
Well, real quick, I wanted to stop just real fast and let everybody know that 13 minutes into the H2H chat, this for the, I want to say it's like the 4th week in a row, but this was probably one of the quickest.
Definitely the quickest.
Definitely the quickest. Yeah, 13 minutes in, we started trending. I think nationally.
In the top 50 nationally. Whee!
And we are just sitting right below Super Bowl and social media org. Today is Community Manager Day.
Well, Bryan, I have you full screen, so you have my ultimate attention.
This is
and all the people listening.
That's how we like it.
I apologize for being full screen on you there.
Well, you're actually life size. It's kind of cool.
Oh, good. So thank you, everybody, for all your tweets and for helping make that happen, and especially Marsha and Suzie. Really appreciate it. So just to wrap up this segment, what is something that, as you start to look at how to market your books? Now, we've talked about how to write the books. We've talked about the intention behind the book. We've talked about the process. Now, let's talk about the marketing side of the book and what you do to approach each book in that.
Okay, well, a couple of things I do fly in the face of common practice. So, with that said, when you write a book, you're going to get requests from the immediate world. Will you guest on my whatever? And then there's the interviews. These are always great when it's from not a practiced writer. They will email you a bunch of questions and expect you to write a bunch of answers. That's not the way you run an interview. When you run an interview, you ask someone questions. So if they give answers, you can add further questions on that topic, because that way you develop a better interview. I'm not writing my own articles. I could do that. I could pay to have them placed. I'm not writing them for your blog. We have to do it right. And I've done some great interviews with people. Also, when you start getting lots and lots, go to Alexa and check where that website, how many people are going to that website. Are you going to invest 2-3 hours of your time for what? Because they get 20 viewers a month, you know? I check my stats on my blog all the time. I've got plenty of posts that exceed 30,000 reads. That's important to me, so that when I put something on my blog, I know it's going to get read. And your time as a writer is valuable in promoting. Now, do promotion locally. Also, very important, especially if it's a business book or something like that. You've got the Rotary, you've got the Kiwanis, you've got the Chamber of Commerce, you've got community action committees, you've got all kinds of little church clubs. And people don't consider this. You know, I'm going to be a big writer, and you'd be surprised. You talk to a group of 20 business people, and they're going to spread the word, and you're probably going to sell more books. I do not carry books with me to be sold. I don't like to push in a little cart with books.
I did that one time. I'll never do it again.
Right. And then the little cash box. Hey, I've seen this. No, I don't do that. Either I give away a book, or you know where you can buy it. There's Amazon.
Right.
And that's another thing I think people who want to write a book should know about. When you sell your books to Amazon, you're not getting this, if it's with a publisher, you're not getting the same royalty as if they're sold to Barnes & Noble. And you're not getting the same royalty as if it's sold to Costco. In these days in book publishing, these vendors cut deals with publishers. And they pretty much tell you how much you're going to make. So, you have to consider all of this. And does it really hurt to go to every bookstore you can find in your neighborhood and offer to do a book reading, a half-hour thing? I live in Los Angeles. I've done Skypes with libraries in Charlotte. Yeah, you can do this, but you have to reach out to people, and you have to reach beyond social media. You can't be a success by selling your books to the same group of people.
Yeah. Oh, that's smart. I like that. So let's conclude with one last question here before we pass the baton over to everybody. Again, actually, I just took a peek, and there's tons and tons of questions coming in. I think Susie should be happy with some of the questions that are coming in here. But still, there's still time, so make sure that you have your question in there at hashtag H2HChat. That would be fantastic, so we could either we can get you your question answered here, or perhaps later Marsha would be willing to kind of jump back onto Twitter.
Yeah, I don't see the questions in the comment tracker.
No, it's going to be on Twitter, so and don't worry about that. We'll,
okay.
Well, stay with me. I'm your focus. Stay focused, and we'll get Good, there we go. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is just something. Actually, I'm going to break this out into two questions. One, what changed the course of your book writing? What was one thing that you could put your finger on that along the way, out of the 47 to 90 books, wherever you're at, it's somewhere in there, with all that you've done, what was the one thing that you could give to someone that you could shortcut, one thing that changed, that was like pivotal in your book writing career that you wish that you would have known sooner?
Well, it was something I innately knew, because I told you that my books are a connection with the readers, and I always wrote them like that. But you don't know always that there's a person going to be reading it when you're writing it. After all these years, I get emails every day through my website from people who are reading my books. Whether it's I have a question on page 47, or I just went to eBay and I got this one today. I'm in Hong Kong and my homepage is in Chinese. I only speak English. What do? It won't translate on Google. So, you get these things, but the best part was when I started getting letters from people. For example, Sophia Amoroso, who wrote Girl Boss, Chapter 2 of Girl Boss, she quotes me in the chapter. When her book kicked off on CNN, the first line she said is, I went out and I got a copy of Starting an eBay Business for Dummies, and that set me off. The letters I get from people on how it has changed their life really define the fact that my books make a difference. In the beginning, you won't know that, and you've got to hold that faith really close to you,
Oh, wow.
which is why you have to have that devotion to the facts, to the personality of your writing, that people will really read it and learn from it. And to be honest with you, if you give out wrong information, you could end up in a really bad situation. Writer's insurance. You know, a lot of people need to have that depending on, you know, what they're writing. But, you know, I'm comfortable. It really is a devotion to the writing. And the turning point was when I went to I hate book signings, but when I do book signings, I sit there with each person. I ask them a question. I want to know what they're doing. Why do you want to read my book? To me, we're talking about human to human here, Bryan. It is human to human. People don't, you know, and the bookstores, they always want you to push through the people. And no, I will take hours because I want to talk to everybody. Yeah, hey, I'm not Hillary Clinton. I don't sell that many books. But I do sell a good lot. And the human to human is the key. There's a human behind every book.
That happens. I forgot to warn you every time you say it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We can't stop it. It's a compulsion at this point. He has an addiction. I'm trying to get him help.
It just happened. I don't know. So, final question, and then Suzie, she's all yours. We did not, and I want to get to publishers. Unfortunately, we only have, and this is could be its own hour on its own. But
we can do another one on publishers and how to get a publisher and what you need to do.
Crazy. I know you know better than I do. So, but try to narrow it down into. You know, I know you talked about Guy Kawasaki in his book, but what is your belief on getting a publisher and the process of going to do that? Do you do it early on, and do you believe in them, and how do they help you?
I do believe in a publisher. I do believe that as we all know, when there's a team, you can do better than one person or two people. And this is a team, generally, of people who know how to sell books. They know what books are crap and what books aren't crap. So they can help guide you, hopefully, to sell your book and promote your book. So going to a publisher, again, do not write the whole book to start with. Have a cohesive outline. Have a sample chapter. And you can find an agent. I used an agent for one of my books. Great guy, wonderful person, but luckily I didn't need an agent. But an agent can really help open doors for you. I was going to go to another publisher with the agent, and he ended up getting me a deal with my regular publisher who offered more money because they wanted the book. Things you have to learn to look for in a contract. And I think these are something we can address on a later show. But I do believe a publisher can help you because they do have that licensing department.
Yeah.
It's damn hard to get that book translated. I have a book coming out in India. What? India? Could I do that myself? Do I know anybody there? And maybe I do know people there, but they're not in a position to publish a print book and have it translated.
Well, I am going to lean on you for some advice here because I think, I don't know if you knew that my book just got picked up by the biggest publisher in China, and I'm really excited. It's going to be my first time getting it translated, so I'm not sure what to expect, nor do I know Chinese, so that's going to be really hard. How you know...
there you go!
What the heck does it say? You know,
well, it's kind of funny, and you look through the book, and you can't really read it. But my screenshots are in English.
Oh, that's funny.
You have to have a little trust, and that's why having a publisher helps, because this is their team in another country, and it's their goal. Remember, it's their goal to sell books.
Yeah.
And these people are professionals. It's not easy to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. Well, I could, as you can tell, we've got a lot of questions I could ask you, but I am going to pass the baton over to Suzie. Suzie, you all set to take this over? Great.
Yes.
All right, I am going to do that. I'll jump back in if and when needed. Otherwise, I'm going to be over on Twitter collecting more questions, and if you see me kind of veering over there, that's what I'm doing. I'm helping to answer some questions and work with the community. So
Eyes are
I will
going back
switch.
and forth.
Right, I'll switch places here with Suzie, and you are off and running, and you're in good hands. So just remember, when you say human.
He has a compulsion, and he can't stop it. All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Marsha. And I am taking all this in as well because I'm currently working on a project, and so I'm like personally going, okay, my ears are open. But we have a huge
Suzie,
amount of questions
I want to just tell you one thing
Yes.
about your project.
Yes.
Life experience makes a huge difference when you're giving someone advice. And you're a brilliant young woman. But if I were you, I would take my theories and things that I was going to run through and perhaps have somebody who's not an editor, but a mentor or someone who's distanced from you to bounce ideas off and to maybe find some other paths, because you want your book to be read by every cohort. You don't want to limit yourself to an audience. So that's my advice for your project.
I love it. I love it. And I will totally be in touch with you. Yes, absolutely. I know. You're like, oh, great, in all my spare time, right? So, all right. So I've been looking through the questions, and oh man, we got a lot of stuff. So we basically have two different types going on here. We have people, a lot of kind of people who are working on projects and they have some great kind of very specific questions. So we'll do a bit of a lightning round at one point, and then we have some awesome kind of bigger questions that I actually think I want to start off with. So we're going to start with some open-ended, but let's keep in mind that I'm going to try and fit in.
And we're going to the lightning round. Ring the bell.
We are going to go into the lightning round. So we'll begin with a few bigger ones, though. So I want to start off with this great question from Antonio Santos. Hey, Antonio, so glad that you could join us again this week. So he says, how important is your emotional connection with the readers? How have they changed you?
They've made my life so much better. I mean, I honestly, like I said, when Girl Boss came out on the bestseller list, and she thanked me in her book, it meant the world to me to know actually that the crap that I write, it's not crap, right? It's sometimes I question myself, but it's stuff that helps people. And once you get that connection, when someone comes up to you with a book that's dog-eared, that has highlight, and it's a mess because they've read it. If someone brings a book to be signed and it's perfect looking, something's wrong. But if they bring one from home that they've loved and they really want to talk to you and they really want to say hello, that's it. It is all, ready? Human to human. It totally is. There you go.
I love that.
When you write your
stains on it.
Right. When you write your words, you really have to picture that person listening to you. You can't always write the way you talk because you have to be more definitive in your writing.
I love that. I love that. And this actually, I'm going to do a follow-up question from Zach Jory. Thanks so much for joining us, Zach. So he says, how do you find out who to write to? So you mentioned research. And he wants to know a bit more of that. What research do you do to identify your audience?
Consider your topic. If he could toss out a topic, or Suzie, you toss out a topic. Give me a topic. Dog owners?
Dog owners. Go for it.
Dog owners. Let's say it's dog owners. Start going. Google has such great data. Pew Research has great data. Find out who that person is. Is it more men? Is it more women? And I'm not a fan of siloing.
Yeah.
Because, again, you miss a whole audience if you silo. But if you hone in on the core that the data says is your audience, don't self-limit yourself.
Right.
But know that that's your core audience.
Right.
And picture them. And I've talked about on Twitter empathy maps, and didn't you and I do an empathy map once together, I think?
Yeah.
An empathy map is a really cool thing. You have a faux picture of your customer in the center. What do they want? What do they need? What do they want from your book? And what makes them happy? Take Post-it notes and take a week if you're a person alone and write these things and stick them on the different segments of your map. Map because your reader is your customer. It's a customer journey from opening the beginning of the book to going to the end to even referencing it. It's your customer. So know your customer and don't limit yourself to just writing for that customer, but make them your central core.
I love that. I love that. And I love, yeah, we did one at the design thinking workshop, I think, a while ago.
In New York.
Yeah, that was just so cool. I never thought about connecting that to a book project. That's awesome. So I love that. So I want to also add, so I have a great question from our buddy J.S. Gilbert, been with us from the very beginning, and he pulled himself out from his sick bed to be with us on the chat. So we're sending you healthy thoughts.
Uploading virtual chicken soup.
There you go, exactly. We need that. So he says, given few books sell over, and he's saying 800 copies. He says, what are some ways that an author can benefit otherwise from publishing a book?
Well, we know about is it worth it? That's a whole different question.
It is separate, yes. Okay, let's put that to the side. That's not necessarily in that. What are some other ways that benefit?
You've written a book. You have something you can look at and you can hold and you can be proud of. And you can drag it out every once in a while. And when you write your resume for a job, you can say, I wrote a book. Mm-hmm. You can still offer yourself up for speaking engagements. You can make it an ebook and have it online if it's not selling real well. Because longevity, I like to write my books as evergreen, the ones that I don't update regularly. I update my eBay books every year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. So they're not totally new, but they have all the new stuff.
Yeah.
But evergreen books, like evergreen content on the web, can always sell. My online customer service guide, that's something that's not going to go away. I can always pull that out of my back hip and say, let's talk about customer service. I got the book for you. Now, it may be a part-time gig for you writing books. Trust me, it's not easy to make a living writing books. Saving money is a very important part of that. But, yeah, there are a lot of benefits for your heart to writing a book.
I love that.
And the feeling of accomplishment, too, that you actually finished.
Yeah.
And that you actually sold one. If you sold one book to somebody who isn't related to you, or if you get one fan letter from a prison which comes as a thing from the state and it says, do you want an email from such and such a prisoner? You say no, but the point is somebody has bought your book.
Yeah. I really like that. So let's get into a little bit, well, we'll do this one before we get in the lightning round. So Charisse Maynard is joining us today. Thank you, Charisse. So she says, for those of us who don't get those serendipitous opportunities, what advice do you have, would you give for getting exposure to, she says to writing, but I think just in general.
Well, are we assuming we've written a book first?
I think we're assuming that it's a potential type of situation.
Okay, then I say hone your chops, guest blogging on people's blogs. You're going to learn about deadlines. And deadlines are an important part of a book, whether you're writing it for yourself or you're writing for a publisher. A publisher is going to be a little tougher on those deadlines. But when you're writing a book for yourself, it's way too easy to say, hey, I'll go to the park. Hey, I'll write from Starbucks. No. You have to have that book done by such and such a date. I have to have my final stuff in on what I'm writing right now by February 28th. So now I'm crazy pushing to get more done in advance than I have to. Because then I know if I have one of those days where I want to go to Starbucks, that I can just do it because I've done enough chapters in advance. The deadlining and the discipline, I mean, you know, even some of the famous writers, fiction writers, they all say, write so much a day. And if you can guest blog and then maybe even get paid for what you're doing, attach yourself right to a publisher and say, I'm interested in reviewing books for you. And they may send you books to review on your website. Now, I've seen this happen many a time, and many times the reviews look like 5th grade book reports. And the point there is, if that's the way you write and people don't read it, you shouldn't be writing a book. And the internet gives you such great opportunities to test your talents.
Like, yeah, I like that. So this is another question, moving a bit into our quicker round here. Question from Christy. Shout out to Christy. She says, how do you make your content or book stand out if you're new to writing? So I think this dovetails into what you were just saying.
Be good. Be better than everybody else. Find the facts that other people don't have. I work so hard to find special ways to do things. When I write a business book, there's a chapter in there on QuickBooks, and I'm not just giving you puff on QuickBooks. I'm going to write a chart of accounts for your company. It's going to be in the book. If you need licenses, in my books there's going to be links to each state's licensing board. You have to give everything to that book. And that's what's going to stand out, because unfortunately the bulk of writing out there is, no offense,
you can
there's a lot of fluff out there.
I used to work at a Barnes & Noble for many years, actually.
Right.
Oh, right. My God.
So, you know, there's only one chicken soup for the soul. You know, it's like, it's, you know,
well, there are many chicken soups for the soul, but yes.
Oh, but it's not just the soul, it's the dog, it's the armpit, it's the this, it's the... I mean, and he was brilliant, and he developed a speaking career out of this. But then again, I want to warn you, you know, you think a speaking career is great, but you go on the road every other week for 10 years. Your topic gets a little annoying. And you don't want to repeat yourself. But one thing I have to remind you is you need to repeat yourself, because there's always new people coming in who need to hear your message. So don't think I'm repeating myself.
Right.
Just remember that there's somebody who really didn't hear you say that the first time.
That's how you keep yourself going. I like that. It reminds me, though, a little bit of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle tried to kill off Sherlock Holmes 3 times. He was so sick of him as a character.
You get sick of the topic, but the best way to overcome that is to, you know, I still meet people who haven't sold on eBay. And just sitting down and talking to them makes me go, oh, no, you can't do that. Let me help you, please.
It sounds like really continuing to connect to people and have that relationship is one thing that keeps you going. There you go, Bryan. So let's get into a few more specifics here. So I have a question from Molly, and then seconded by Melody. Thanks, guys. Who says, this is kind of a multi-part thing, so I'm going to give you the hodgepodge of their questions. I think you can pull it out. So Molly asks, do you need a literary agent? She says most publishers that she's finding don't accept unsolicited submissions. She's had some experience. She's working through this, she says right now.
Let's stop on that real quick.
Yes.
Depending on your topic, use your Google senses, just like your Spidey senses. Search literary agents, search topics, and then when you find their site, see who are their clients. Have they really sold books? Are they really representing people? If people know me, you know, I'm always willing to recommend people. If I don't know someone for you, again, this is what I suggest. Use Google. It's your friend. It's the directory of the planet. And you don't really need an agent, really. If your idea is that damn good, you can send unsolicited manuscripts. And I guess I should do a blog post on it because I've written enough emails to people to let them
Yeah.
know how to do this.
Okay.
But there is a procedure. And again, that outline and that sample chapter are your sales pieces, and convincing the publisher, and this is all an agent does,
Right.
that marketing I told you have to do at the beginning of the book. Who is your audience? How many left-handed goat milkers are in the United States that are going to buy your book? You got those numbers. If we can sell to 1/10 of those people, are we going to make money? Boom. You've got a contract.
I love that. I love that. So that goes into Melanie's question, who then she goes in and says, yes, what type of marketing activities do you go through before writing your book? And it sounds like this is part of the audience research. You're doing their research for them. You're making the
it's like I wrote a book for the AARP on Facebook, Tech to Connect. They refused to put it in large print. What? You crazy? That's like totally your audience. But, oh, no, we don't want to insult our people. So ended up being licensed by another book who made it in hardcover and large print and sold it to every library in the United States.
Nice.
So, again, marketing, marketing, marketing.
Nice. I love that. So Paid Compliment, our buddies from Australia who tune in every week. Love you guys. They want to know, do you outsource anything when you're marketing or anything like this?
Nope.
I had a feeling that was...
Oh, wait a minute. Well, obviously my publisher has marketing people. My publisher has a PR department.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I misread this. She says, or they say, aspects of your writing. Typing from diction, anything like that. Research typing from diction. It's all you.
Okay, this is crazy. I personally don't believe that you can write about a topic unless you've done it yourself, unless you believe in it, unless you've been there yourself. I have sold on eBay since 1997 nonstop except on vacations. Now, I'm not always in the big giant store with tons of merchandise, but I'm always selling something 3 times a week at least. If you don't do it, how disingenuous are you? Like those people who write about connecting in social media who never answer a tweet. Hello?
Right. Yeah, that's always the disconnect.
People aren't stupid. In the end, imposters will be found out. You've got to live and breathe your topics. And it's hard for me because I live and breathe customer service, e-commerce, social media. Luckily for everything, it all ties in together.
I love it. I love it. So here, let's see, I'm going through here. So let's see, let's do this one. So Gort has a great question. So he is asking, do you have tips in terms of formatting or publishing on Kindle?
No, and for that I do recommend Guy's book, Kawasaki.
Yeah, that was my hunt.
I would not listen to the people that be on those platforms. Remember, they want you as a writer to make money off of you. They do not always have your best interests at hand. Always talk to other writers because they'll give you the true 411.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the deal. Realize that people want to use you to make money. You have to watch out for yourself, and you don't want to go down a trail that's going to hurt you or hurt your reputation.
I like that. I like that. So I want to, I have 2 more questions here. I want to ask a question from Dan Gingus.
Hi, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Dan. I'm so happy to see you on here. He says,
he gets his own special sound.
Yes. For those of you who don't know Dan, he's our buddy. So he says, here's a question. How do you find a publisher for a first book? I just had to ask this one because it's such a great question.
Okay, well, it depends on your topic. Again, Google's your friend. Have they published topics on, are they on a similar topic? If they publish coffee table books, your nonfiction is not a book for them.
Right.
See the type of books they're experienced at. There are some publishers who may publish just about anything you bring to them. But are they specialists in selling your book? It was like when I wrote this book, Social Media Commerce. I didn't believe you should use social media if it's not going to pay you money. So, I don't mean directly pay you money, but if you have a business and you want to sell something, how do you use social media appropriately to sell things, to sell yourself, to sell your business? And that's why I wrote this book. It's commerce. It turned into social selling, but it's all commerce. You have to know the audience again, and you have to know the publisher. If they publish dog books, they're not going to do a good job maybe with your cookbook.
Unless it's a dog food book.
Dog food book, yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah, it could be. All right, so we got last question, and I am actually going to combine almost 3 questions into one because I am that good. So this is we're looking for some. This is our last kind of piece of advice question. Okay. So here's what we go. Actually, I'll do 2 in one. So we have Alan Berkson.
Hi, Alan.
Yes.
Hey, customer service chat.
Yes. So he's asking, and this is both Alan Berkson and then David Perry. So they're both asking, what is something you wished you knew, or if you had a piece of advice for your 20-year-old or yourself 20 years ago, what would that be? What would have made a big difference for you?
Before I signed a contract, I'd talk to somebody who'd signed contracts before. Even if you have an agent, remember, the agent is looking to make money off of you.
Right.
And it's not necessarily what's in your best interest. Maybe I should start talking to people and helping them with this. Maybe it's a side business for me.
There you go. The
point is,
chat, I'd say you could definitely
people want to make money off of you.
Yep.
And that's not always in your best interest. People burn out. You've heard of celebrities who burn out. You don't have to be a celebrity to burn out. You have to be able to pace yourself. You have to have time for your family. You have to have time for your social media. You have to know what works for you and not consider those who make money off of you as gospel. You know in your heart how much money you want to make, and you set a goal. You say, I won't speak unless I'm paid blank. Period. I won't speak unless they buy 1,000 books or 500 books or whatever your thing is.
Yeah.
Or, gee, I'd really like to go to Sun Valley. So I don't mind being paid less because I can bring my family. Remember, writing gives you control of your future and of your life if you want to, except for the times you're on deadline in which you're working nonstop. But deadlines are a good thing. It's a discipline.
Yes.
So, 20 years ago, what I would have told myself is look inside myself and be more control and find a mentor, because if there had been a mentor for me, I would have known a whole lot more.
That is absolutely excellent advice, but I would expect no less.
No, nobody
ladies and gentlemen, Marsha Collier. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marsha.
Oh, and by the way, I want to give away a copy of this book to somebody. And Suzie, you need to decide how we're going to pick that winner, and going to email you, and we're going to need your name and address.
We are going to do what we've done before, which is we're going to do a random drawing from everyone who has tweeted using the hashtag today. So we will collect them, and then Bryan is going to do his magic algorithm random number generator thing, and
pulling them out of a hat. Right.
Yes. Yeah. Basically, yes. He has some black magic process. I don't ask.
There's an app for that. I wrote about it in that book, as a matter of fact.
I think he has the app for that. Yeah. So there's an app for that. I like to think of it as black magic, though. It's a little bit more exciting. Anyway, thank you so much, Marsha.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I surrender my chair to Bryan.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Marsha. Marsha, real quick, give us the website that everybody can find you on.
Okay, my website is coolebaytools.com, which was named just because it was my first book, but it's got social media, it's got e-commerce. I've got a blog at mcollier.blogspot.com, and every Saturday I do a live technology podcast, which I used to do on KBC. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. It's Computer and Technology Radio, and we live tweet on Saturday between noon and 1. And we trended last week, as a matter of fact. Nice after 10 years. But it's a fun podcast. Thank you. And I love doing it. And that's it.
Good.
Thank you, everybody, for buying books and listening to me. And I appreciate all of your friendship and your support every time you tweet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marsha. Really appreciate it. And everybody, we will see you again next Monday, same time, same place. We'll be back with the details on that soon. But until then, have a great Monday and a great rest of your week. We'll see you guys soon. Cheers.